Hello everyone, this is Marcuson, and today all of the cards from the newest Dominion set, Plunder, that's going to be coming out very soon, have already been revealed on the acceptance client of Dominion.games, so like the Dominion Online client right now. So that means that everyone who cares enough to go into the acceptance, well, you can find it on the Dominion Discord. Has look at all the cards that are coming out. So um, I'm going to be doing something a bit, I guess, different from the older videos where I talked about my first, where I looked at the cards for the first time and gave my immediate first thoughts. What I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to look at all the cards through the client itself. So um, just basically scan over one by one, starting from the top right, top left, and going through. A bunch of these cards were previewed already during the week, and because this dropped a bit early, um, I haven't made a video about just my thoughts on just the preview. So we're gonna do it all together, all in this video. So I'm gonna like some of the cards, so like Shaman and Jewel Deck I've seen before, so I could give my thoughts on those, having played those. But a bunch of the stuff that I haven't played with, I'm going to talk about, and there's quite a lot of cards, as you can see. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try to do this in one take, and it might not be pretty. And apologies in advance if I'm coughing. But let's just get into it. First one, Cage. Set aside up to, well, it's okay. So it's 2 cost treasure duration. Set aside up to 4 cards from your hand face down on this. The next time you gain a victory card, trash this and put the set aside cards into your hand at end of turn. Okay, so this means that you set aside some cards and then they get added on the turn, the cleanup after you gain a victory card. So when would you use that? Such a weird effect. Oh, but okay, so what you could do is you can okay, so I get what this is doing now. So this is kind of like a one-time chapel effect until you gain a victory card. So I was just thinking about it in terms of why do you want those cards back? So you get a big hand size. So like I was just thinking about it in terms of, oh, you want to use this to increase like attack like a big haven. But no, it's just setting aside cards until you start actually winning the game. So trying to win the game, but there's a large period of time when you're not doing that, and this is up to 4 cards and including itself. So it's kind of like trashing one more than chapel because it's getting rid of itself, even though the first time, even though it stops working anymore. And I think it's quite good. I'm thinking about it in terms of, because the thing is, maybe you get this in like another trasher, or there's like another trasher that will eventually be able to get rid of that junk, but you don't have a lot of deck control initially. So by the time you finally do get green cards, maybe you do have control that you can start trashing those coppers that you got rid of initially. Or you could use this like a big haven effect the turn after. So maybe you could set up a bunch of remodels or something. It's a pretty versatile card. I don't know if I like it, but it's something pretty impressive. You'll see that these are arranged by cost, so we're going to go through a lot of the 2 cost cards first. Let's go next one, Grotto. I'm not sure the pronunciation there, but it's an action duration, cost 2, gives +1 action. Set aside up to 4 cards from your hand face down on this. At the start of your next turn, discard them, then draw that many cards. Okay. This was face up? No, okay, Cage was also face down. It just seems weird to have 2 cards that are both like, oh, set aside 4 cards from your hand. Although this is during your action phase. The other one was a treasure. So it's like a big stables. Well, no, it's a duration seller, I guess. And you won't Yeah, so it's like a duration seller, and but it's like so it's like getting +1 card the next. So it's like you're doing a big forum thing. So it's like duration forum, I would say, with caps at 4, but goes up to 4. So I do like it more than seller, just because every time you use seller, you're down. You reduce your hand size by 1, and this like you also reduce your hand size by 1. Actually, kind of skip your you kind of like uh skip your turn in a sense, or tactician your turn. But if you have spare cards that you don't need to like, if you have spare cards like victory cards like estates, then you get to draw a bunch next turn. So it's non-terminal duration draw. Duration draw is just in general really good. Like seller never open increased your hand size. Haven kinda did. So this is just Haven that doesn't draw but gives way more Haven effects. So that's like stacks like up to 4 Havens in one, or three. I don't know, depending on how you count it not giving a card. But it's for two, that's a good deal. You'll find spaces for that. Jeweled egg. We see this. We saw this in the preview. So it's +1/+1 buy when you trash this, gain a loot. Um, the loot cards. I'm not going to. They're probably at the bottom somewhere. I'm not going to talk. I guess I won't talk too much about the loot cards, but they're most of them are +3 coin, +3 buy. Maybe at the bottom, uh, we have the loot. Yeah, there's the loot. So we could talk a little bit about that. Yeah, there's a lot of traits. There's a lot to get through in this video, so I don't know how I'm gonna have the energy to do it. But um, it's nice that this gives buy, but I'm usually I get this early and I try to trash it early just to get like I like the idea of having that nice loot. Some of the loot is like really interesting in the early game. Might as well just talk about the loots now. You see they're all in order here, starting from Amphora, then Doubloons, Endless Chalice. Um, Things like Prized Goat, Puzzle Box, Sextant, Spell Scroll, maybe. Uh, Several of these. So, maybe in weird scenarios, the balloons will have be pretty good to get early. So it's like kind of it becomes kind of worth getting the trash and the jeweled egg early for them. But if you get something like insignia, like I mean maybe, but it doesn't have the buy, so you give up the buy on the jewel egg. The figurehead early, yeah, actually pretty early. It's on, it's okay, but you still don't get the buy, but it's okay. Sword depends. Discards down to 4. So if they have duration, if something like what we just saw with Cage, this would counter that because the Cage is at the cleanup. Uh, could be good. Maybe that's not okay. Okay, so here's they're all cost by 7. So uh most of the 7 cost cards are the loot, but there's an exception. There's the King's Cash that was also presented in the previews, and that's just you play a treasure 3 times. Really good with the loots, getting +9, but there's also really good with some of the Kingdom Treasure. I haven't seen all the Kingdom Treasure, but it tends to be like you tend to know when you want King's Cash or not. Otherwise, if you hits gold, it's like it gives +6 in addition to the gold. Um, yeah, I kind of skipped around, but I mean, I don't know how much there was to say about Jeweled Egg, but I think over half the time you'll be happy with one of the loots that you're gonna get. But there are some duds. Endless Chalice is like a weird one where you get only +1 coin, and then you get that for the rest of the game. Uh, I mean, sometimes that's like if you really want to make sure you have plus buy every turn, then it's kind of good. So it's like if you're for some reason doing like I don't know, a garden, say a copper strategist, or just want to have like lots of experiments, you want to buys every turn. But most of these would have given you buy in every turn, so at least this gives buy, but it doesn't give coins. But I don't know. I'm sick of talking about the loot. I'll talk more about the loots maybe later. Otherwise, 2 for the candlestick maker effect, the ducat, the ducat, sorry, whatever. Um, I don't know, but I think it's a fun card. I like popping this. Maybe you remodel it to something good while getting the loot, so it's not like you just trashed. Well, it's like trashing an estate maybe. So yeah. New card search. What does this do? This is a 2 cost action duration plus 2 coins. The next time a supply card empties, trash this and gain a loot. Okay. Hold on, give me. So that's like embargo until a supply pile empties, like in the sense it disappears. Well, for 2, I mean, if you have the 5/2, I mean, obviously you get this. Um, you trash this. I guess this is nice if you're like specifically want to have more cards in play, like duration cards in play. There's a card from the previews that cares about that, the Swamp Shacks. Um, it's just so weird. You get the loot at a point where you want like the loot comes at a good time. Like this is like, oh, now the pile's empty. This is exactly when I probably have pile control. Like, well, probably when I have a good deck, and probably when um you want the pile control, because once one pile is empty, that's like only 2 more needs to be empty to win the game, and then with however many loots give plus buy, it's great to have this. It's just like until then you're just like it's not doing anything until like that point. So you really need to have like a spare like, terminal space, but even then it's like a stop card. It's like why would you want to draw this? Um, I think the idea here is like you know a pile is about to empty, so like you gain a bunch of these like a turn before the pile's empty, or you gain and play these, and then you set it up so that you get. But the loots don't go to your hand or anything; they just go into your discard pile. So it's like you draw them most likely after the pile empties. So it's like weirdly slow. uh, Still, it's interesting. I think it's going to be situational. I think, or not situation, just tactically, it's going to be hard to get this um get the timing right. But maybe the reward could play. There's the shaman that was previewed turns a lot of heads. I like the art. It's okay. So it's a 2 cost action plus 1 coin. You may trash a card from your hand, and then it has a special setup under the line. Well, game rule. In games using this at the start of your turn, gain a card from the trash costing up to 6. So basically, what happens is if there's no cards in the trash, and then you play this, or you play a trasher and you trash 1 card, your opponent's going to get that card at the beginning of the next turn. So it's kind of, in that sense, it's like ambassador. You get rid of 1 card, they get 1 card. But then if you trash 2 cards, then the next time it's your turn, you're going to get that trash again. So it makes it so that it's a lot harder to get to maintain thinness, but you can still do it. I mean, if you have something like Trash Chapel, or if you could play a lot of remakes or something, and in addition to like shamans, and if you just stack a bunch of trash effects, you can still get a stay clean. The more significant problem issue when playing with this card is you trash some nice thing for benefit, like you remodel like a 4 cost into something, or you trash something to apprentice, and it's all nice and good. But then the next turn, your opponent gets that card that you trashed, and it's like, oh dang, they have my junk dealer now. Uh, did I want that to happen? Probably not. So that's the harsher thing about this, is that you trash a good card, your opponent gets first dibs on the first good card. Your opponent gets first dibs on the best card that's in the trash after your turn. But yeah, it tends to be pretty important to get this. I mean, especially if there's no trashing. Every time you play this, it's like it's like a 2 card swing. It's still nice to get this as like supplemental trashing. Let's say if you have something like you've been trashing a lot with the Chapel or remake, but then you don't want to keep having to waste the terminal action on playing those. You could get a shaman instead to keep the coppers out of your deck, so you can keep your hand size. So, and it gives a coin. So all in all, it's I think in context, even though it's not very impressive as it's in context with the bottom part, it's actually quite an important card to have. The next card was also previewed, Secluded Shrine. So it's our first 3 cost card. It's an action duration, gives +1. The next time you gain a treasure, trash up to 2 cards from your hand. I find that I like this more than Temple, just because It's 3 and it gives a coin. A temple's that thing that like you get a victory point and then you trash up to 3 cards with different names from empires. This is okay. You get a silver and then you trash 2 cards in your hand. Now it's a bit tricky because you might need to have spent some of that money to get the treasure in the first place. But in this example, in this set, there's a lot of cards that give loot or that are otherwise treasure cards already. Like you could see the cage and the jeweled egg were already um, treasures, and there's going to be more where that came from. So with 2 cost treasures, it's nice, like coins of the realm. Um, you could even just get like 2 of these and have that as be your like early game trash. If you're going to go for like 2 stewards or something, it's not as fast, or it is like similarly good like that since it gives +1 coin, but you have to be getting like a silver in place of 2 of your cards. So it's like trading post. If you like silver, probably. I mean, the silver is good if you're getting 5 cost cards. So there's going to be games where like you're pretty happy to get this, get these first, and then start getting your silver. So it's going to be pretty nice. I like secluded. Yeah. Next card is the Siren. This was a doozy. This is in preview. So this is each 3 cost action duration attack. And when you play it, each other player gains a curse, and then at the start of your next turn, drop to 8 cards in hand. Both of those things are quite good. I mean, each other player gains a curse. I mean, it doesn't draw then, but it's still like something. And then the next turn, you drop to 8 cards, so you can't curse twice in a row. Like you have to like wait for the duration effect to pass, so you probably want more than one. But it has a condition here. It says when you gain this, trash it unless you trash an action from your hand. So normally, what happens when you gain this, and then if you don't have an action in your hand to trash, this gets trashed instead. There are ways to get around it. There is actually quite a bit of ways to get around it. So there's a lot of cards that like react when something else is gained. It's like Watchtower says, when you gain a card, you may reveal this to top deck it, and then if you top deck the Siren, uh, you the stop moving rule gets applied or the lose track, and then the Siren doesn't trash itself anymore. So anything that's like Tiara, Royal Seal, anything that like top decks first of all, gains cards like Tracker is going to get around this. Things that put the card into play after gaining it, like City States and in Innovation and Sailor. Those are all going to play this card before they could get trashed, and then like you don't have to. You could just choose to trash the Siren after it's already moved, and then trashing will fail, and you get this. And there's actually like a lot of tricks to get around the condition. Like even just like Overlord and Band of Misfits. Okay, you buy a 5 and you play a Siren. You use them to play a Siren. It's actually very powerful. It's a very powerful card. Um, Obviously there's Necropolis 2 in the Shelters games. It's a powerful card, and there's a lot of ways to. You have to be very mindful about the ways to get around the on game. But even just if you have to trash an action card to get this, sometimes it's good. Like sometimes, let's say I open two two secluded shrines, and then like I draw them both together. I'm just like, okay, you know what? Let me just get a Siren, trash the other secluded shrine, and I'll get another shrine later. You can do that, and then the secluded shrine. I forgot to mention, it's the next time you get a treasure. It lasts between turns. So if you don't get the treasure the turn you play, you can wait the next turn. There's a bunch of cards like that. Yeah, good card. Stowaway is the next one, also a previewed card. A lot of the cheap cards were previewed. It's a 3 cost action duration reaction. At the start of your next turn, +2 cards. So it's just Enchantress without the attack. But when anyone gains a duration card, you may play this in your hand. So if you have several stowaways in your hand and you don't have the actions to play it, you could get another stowaway, and you could play those 2 in your hand. In practice, when you have that effect that you can just play a bunch of them in your hand, it's actually pretty good. Uh, Even if eventually you run out of ways to get durations, it's still there's a lot of benefit that you're gaining while you're playing these. So it's nice. I like duration draw in general. I'm okay with this. I mean, it is duration, so it's like you're playing a terminal and you're not drawing it every turn. Because maybe it misses the shuffle. But I mean, the thing is, these, at least when you get more of these, if you get this as kind of like your main draw, there are maybe ways to put a bunch of them into play, so it's a bit easier. So they become more like Dens of Sin for 3, um, for a while. So it's easier to spam than Enchantress, even if it's less potent as a one of or two of. But yeah, so I don't know. It's like okay. Taskmaster. This was another previewed card. It's 3 cost action duration. You'll notice there's a lot of durations here. So it's +1 action, +1 coin. And if you gain a card costing exactly 5 this turn, then at the start of your next turn, repeat this. So basically, on the turn you play it, if you gain a 5 cost card that turn, um, after like cost reductions or whatever, it still costs 5, or whatever costs 5 at the moment that you gained it at the first time, if this stays in play and it gives an action and coin. So it becomes like, well, not Fishing Village still gives you um, is it 2 actions? It's now at the start of your next turn, +1 action plus. I forget if it gets two +1 or +2 echoes. I think it's probably just +1. +1. It's +1. +1 action on the next turn because it's like bizarre, delayed bizarre. But this is like that. Um, I think the trick with this, and then if you gain 1/5 cost, you get like all of these that are in play stay in play. So really, what this is like it's really good with gain in play. So it's like you gain these on a turn, you find a way to get them into play, maybe with like city state or innovation, and then you get a 5 cost, and then you get like a 5 cost. And you just keep these in play so that you never actually even have to draw them in the middle of your turn. You just like keep these in play, and then you have these actions at the start of your turn. It's nice. It's like having villagers. It's like having a coin of the realm at the start. So the it's only 1 coin that you get, so it's kind of minor. It's kind of just more like a reliability tool, and you have to like put a lot of investment into keeping it. But it's sometimes it's okay. It also triggers off Duchy. So if you're greening, you could just get Duchy and hopefully keep these into play because it's really good to keep these into play because they still give you the coin. Yeah, that's nice stacking. Abundance is the next one. Another preview card. It's a treasure duration that costs 4. First 4 cost card in this list. The next time you get an action card, +1 buy, +3 coins. So it's like a gold with a buy, but it only triggers when you get an action card. So it's harder to combine. It's harder to use this to like spike 7, but or like spiking 6. So it's more like you're under normal circumstances you may be getting this, um, and you're buying like a 4 and a 3, or like a 5 and a 5 and a 3 or something. But the fact that this costs 4, so that you can get it like conveniently with like a workshop or like remodel into this like an abundance, and then they even if you don't play it if you don't even if you don't play get the benefit that turn, you maybe get it the next turn. Um, maybe the next turn you get the +1 buy by getting an action, or get an action in your buy in your action phase. It's pretty nice, good source of payload if economy. If you trash down and you just basically, instead of having to buy gold, you just have like basically like have 3 abundances in your deck. You just kind of rely on getting some 2 cost or 3 cost card at the start of your buy phase, and then like trigger like 3 or 4 of these at once. In combination with the rest of your money, that's your source of buys. Ends up being pretty good. I like the I've grown I've grown to like the card. There's a lot of ways that you can mix it into stuff. And also, if you like get like a wisp or something from Pixie, suddenly this triggers on your suddenly this triggers. This might miss the shuffle, so it's like um uh you play it on the last turn, you don't get the benefit last turn. Maybe it stays around, but still, it's something. Here's a new one, Cabin Boy. 4 cost action duration. Okay, we're gonna have to get to like that Fortune Hunter before we get to like a non-duration, just a straight action card. But you can see from the white border. So this is +1 card, +1 action. At the start of your next turn, choose one, +2, or trash this and gain a duration card. So like it's like if Importer had a if Importer was a cantrip, that's so either this is like a delayed +1 like activated conspirator, which is okay. It's like playing. If you get the +2, it's like you played 2 caravan cards for the slot of 1. That's actually pretty good. It's actually significant because if you gain a bunch of these, um, it's quite a sizable source of econ. Even if you split these 5-5, you're still getting like um, maybe +6 or +8, +4 to +6 per turn at the start of your turn for a slot of a cantrip. So that's like pretty significant. Whereas with Caravan Guard, it's like, okay, I played like I have like half of them. I played a whole bunch of them. Okay, here's my uh, 2 coins. Unless they played an attack card, that it gets. So already the +2 coins is good, and it's already better than it's probably better than merchant ship at 2. At 5, like merchant ship if it costed 5, where it's just like +2 now, +2 at the start of your next turn. But uh, just given how it's more spammable. But then again, the big draw is that this costs 4, and then you could trash this to get a duration card. I mean, maybe there's going to be a duration card that you want, but this already costs 4, so like, why don't you just get that duration to begin with? But there are some tactics that you could use. Like maybe when you don't want the money anymore, maybe you use it to threaten piles. Like if you have like, seriously, if you have like, if these empty, everyone has a cabin boy, then on your turn you could just be like, well, I'm gonna empty this. I'm gonna start emptying this taskmaster pile now, and at the beginning of my turn, and suddenly end the game. So it has pile up potential. It has that benefit of maybe you just get a 5 cost duration that you really want. Um, Even something like Den of Sin, like those night durations. But it would be like a delayed feast, so it's like only once. But I like the money part. So don't underestimate the cabin boy. I don't think. Like there's spam, some cabin boy spam will be surprisingly effective. My take on it. Crucible. This is trash a card from your hand. Um, +1 per 1 it costs. So if it trashes an estate, it's 2. Okay, so it's like non-terminal salvager as a treasure, but doesn't give the +5. And you have to trash the card, but like so did salvager. Like it's like, but then why would you play like? I mean, what do you say about this? This is just like salvager with but needs the plus buy, which maybe you don't have, and this is not as good. But the fact that this is like non-terminal means you can just get like 2 or 3 of these, no problem, and do whatever hell else you want to gonna do in your game. And you can like, oh, if you have too many crucibles, well, just trash one of the crucibles to the other, so that you're like left with 1 crucible. Um, it doesn't draw, so it's a bit harder to then with like junk dealer, but it's like, man, terminal, like it's non-terminal trashing 1 card is already okay. It's kind of lame that if it trashes an estate, but it still didn't cost an action, so it's just like getting 4 for goats. Except no, okay, not for estate, so it's not quite like goats, but it's very close to, at least in terms of trashing, it's very convenient. And getting the plus coin, that could be relevant. You know how look how much of this loot costs 7. Look at this. You trash any of these, you're getting +7, and you just need some plus buy somewhere. But the loot, so it plays really well with the loots because those give you the plus buy. I wonder if there's supposed to be a thematic connection between the crucible and the loot, but I guess you're smelting it. You're smelting the loot for. You're smelting the gold for like something else. I don't know. Let's go to the next one. Flagship. This was also previewed. Um, this is a 4 cost action duration command card. It gives +2 coins when you play it, and the next time you play non-command action card, replay it. I haven't played with this a lot, but it tends to be like it gets terminal, so it's kind of awkward, but it works like across turns, of course. So it tends to pretty helpful. Like all in all, it's like a pretty okay card. In fact, it doesn't play it doesn't play a card for. It's not like Royal Galley where it plays a card for you. But obviously, there's like it doesn't trigger off itself, so you could do stuff like um stack a bunch of these and then play a bridge and then like get like 6 flagship triggers. The other key thing here is that it says command cards but doesn't say duration. So you can double up on a duration card with the flagship. And by replaying it, I think that means that the flagship will stay out, continue to stay out as long as that duration card would stay out. That's like the rule with these replay cards. Um, I'm still not. It's like it's not as convenient as like throw and move, but it has. It's sometimes it helps with reliability. It's an okay card. It's an okay card. I don't really have a good judgment on it, honestly. Here's a Fortune Hunter. This is new. I haven't seen this. It's their first. It's their second action, pure action. Shaman is also pure action, even though it's like it feels like an attack. It's not an attack, so neither is this. So this is 4 cost plus 2 coins. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play a Cheshire card from them. Put the rest back in any order. So if it hits a silver, it's like +4 for 4, or +3 for 3. It also gets rid of that card, so you don't have to draw that card later. So it's like it has some reordering power. That's nice. It's obviously nice with some of these kingdom treasures that we got, like the abundance, all the loot cards that give like +3 coin plus buy, and then you don't have to draw. Then you don't have to draw them later. Well, you draw into like this is the stop card, so it's a kind of like replacing itself. It reminds me of what's it called, Courier from Allies, where it plays a card. It plays a card from your discard. This is playing something from the top of your deck. Although Courier also like discard the top card of your deck, so it's also getting closer. So it's very reminiscent of that card. As I said, this gives the so it gives a bit more money than it gives. Probably on average a bit more money than Courier, but it can't play actions. So it's more for economy. It's. I mean, you probably open with this like often enough if you want to hit 5. Like honestly, it's. I guess it's gonna see like people are gonna get this. You're gonna get this like early, and then like maybe you're not really gonna like form your whole strategy around these because they're terminal, and like what are they doing besides giving you money? And they don't do anything if your deck is empty. But and they might trigger the shuffle. But having some like more reordering effects is something. Give me a second here. Yeah, sorry. All right. The next one is Gondola. It's a 4-cost treasure duration. It says either now or at the start of your next turn +2. So it really gets the question. It gets the question mark just because it doesn't know if you're gonna get +2 now or next turn. That's questionable. See what I did there. Okay, but when you gain this, you may play an action card from your hand. I mean, it's so you pay, you get 4, and you get toil. You get the toil effect. You get there was one of the loot cards that people are really high on. It's called Staff, and it's +3 cards, +3 coins, +1 buy, and then play an action card from your hand. Thing is, that will happen every time you play the Staff. This is just when you gain the card, and people are like you don't plan around having excess actions that you can't play in your hand. You kind of like you have like backup plans. So basically, like it's more like, okay, I know I'm gonna get more terminals because I know that if I get screwed over, I can at least do this. But you're still paying 4, and then you're getting this stop card. Like you're getting this stop card if it's like it's a silver, just so that you can play another terminal in your hand that you couldn't play in your action phase. Uh, that's not the only trick it has though. The thing is, this is the next when you gain this. So this could be happening during your buy phase. So you could be like buying 3 cards, and then you buy this to play an action in your hand that like looks at the top cards of your library. So like starts a nice shuffle. It starts a clean. It starts a shuffle with the card you just bought. So there are some tricks like that. So it's not strictly about just playing an extra action that you couldn't play in your turn. It's also there's also a part of it that I guess that's true for toil as well, but maybe it doesn't come up as often. So and then the duration +2. Maybe that's something. I mean, like I'm not as I don't think I'm the loot amphora is as uh like amphora is a card that one of the loot cards is like +3 either now or at the start of your next turn +3 coins and plus buy. I don't think the plus having the duration effect on amphora is as redundant as people say. I think it does come up. Um, but this doesn't like give buy either. It does cost 4, so maybe you trash it. So maybe or you like replace it with itself so that you can play actions. Like there's well, swap his actions. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't feel like talking about this card anymore. Okay, let's go to the Harbor Village. So this is a 4 cost action. It looks like it's a village, and because it gives +1 card +2 actions. After the next action you play this turn, if it gave you any amount of money, you get +coin. So importantly, it doesn't. After the next action you play this turn, so it doesn't trigger off itself. I don't think because um, it's if that action. So like when you first play this, um, when you first play this, this will give you the coin. It only gives you the coin after something else happens, so it doesn't trigger off itself. Um, but it does, and it won't trigger off. I guess it won't trigger off like merchant either. This is like the card I was thinking of is merchant from like the second edition base set, where like it's a cantrip, and then after you play a silver, the first time you play a silver in your turn, you get +coin from the merchant, and that isn't the duration either. It doesn't need. It's not a. This is not a duration effect because it's this turn. How many actions give you coin? Well, just from this set, we have the Shaman, the Search, the Secluded Shrine, um, Cabin Boy. No, no, not Cabin Boy. That's next turn. Taskmaster, the Flagship. There's a lot of actions that give coin, but typically, like it's like capitalism. People aren't as high on that as they thought it would be. There's like typically at least maybe like 1 or 2 cards that give the +coin, but the thing is, this is not like capitalism because it's just like you just need one of those cards, and it triggers all of your harbor villages. So it's just more like you don't need to get a bunch of the card that gives +coin. You get a bunch of the harbor villages, and then you get one of the card copy of the card that gives +coin. And then all of your harbor villages will give +coin retroactively, and they cost 4, so you can get them. They're in workshop range, so it levels up the bazaar if you get that trigger, but um it costs 4, so I think it's pretty. I think it's I'm pretty impressed with the Harbor Village is going to be doing because it's like it's going to be good. You can play your actions and it's going to help cover your payload. So it's like if your village is giving you coin that you were going to get like 5 of anyway and splitting with your opponent, that's like 5 less money you need to get uh to reach your coin threshold just from your villages. Just like blinding like workers villages already gives you the buy, so it's like one less thing you have to worry about. Our village is like not quite like as dramatic as a plus buy in the end game, but this is going to help you hit province. So long as you have the deck. I mean, the harbor villages is very like self synergy that helps you get control of your deck, which helps you find your coin, which uh, which helps you find more of the harbor villages, and then like you go on, and then you get coin for 4. It's I think it's going to be a good village. It's I mean Plaza can also give Plaza could discard a treasure to give coin. Sometimes all of your plazas give coffers because you drew your deck. And this doesn't have it. That's the condition for Plaza is like you need to have overdraw. This is just like you don't need overdraw. Just a thing like one card that's like probably a stop card that gives coin. Um, and the coffers on maybe not as powerful, but it's still pretty. It's still pretty. It's still quite. I do think this is like the play pattern for this is probably going to be better than with Plaza, because then if Plaza Um, if you don't draw those, if you don't draw back those treasures that you discard, it's just like meh. But obviously the plus is kind of better early. This is kind of better as component to your engine. Anyway, that's enough. A landing party. Yeah, I don't know if I'm talking. I'm probably there's just so many of these cards. I don't know how I'm gonna get through them all. There's like all the traits after this and the events. I don't know what I'm doing, but landing party. It's this was previewed too. So this is a 4 cost action duration. It gives +2 cards, +2 actions. The next time the first card you play on your turn is a treasure, put this onto your deck afterwards. So it plays. I don't know what that sound was. I got some kind of. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mute this site. Yeah. Back to landing party. Um, yeah. So you play this, and it's like kind of a lost city, and then it sets itself aside until the next time you can play a treasure. So you're not going to be able to play get it off the set aside land the same turn. Maybe next turn like most of the time, like you want to play an action at the start of your turn to kick off. Like you're not usually going to be playing a treasure first. So just like if you play treasure first, it means like you kind of um, skipped drawing. Like unless it's like crown or something or some kind of funky business or like some edge cases where you're just able to play a treasure first and still have a turn, or with some extra turn cards like mission, you're not gonna get the effect, but it top decks it's on the top of your deck and it stacks with other copies. So like if you play a bunch of landing, if you have like 5 landing parties, then you say, well, you know what, this turn I'm just gonna play my copper and pass, or I'm just gonna play a copper and like my silver and buy a card, so maybe it's not a good turn, but then next turn, um, you get this like big draw, and it's kind of like getting a madman without having to. It's like having the madman effect without having to get to the without having to get to the next shuffle. Obviously, the first landing party is not as powerful as like the first madman, but I have seen. It is convenient. Like it's like it feels kind of bad when you play the treasure and don't do much else. But then like the next turn when you see like, oh, my 3 landing parties are right on top of my deck. It's like that does kind of feel like it like makes up for it. It does at least feel like, okay, at least I got like this is good. I like having these like 3 draws and my actions. And it's at a price point you can afford. And obviously, the first time you play landing party, it's pretty good speed. It gives you like that effect right away. Um, the next time you draw it, and then it's only afterwards you have to think about putting it away, putting it back into your deck. But so that's nice. We'll go to the next one, Map Maker. It's an action reaction. It says when you play it, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put 2 into your hand, and discard the rest. When any player gains a victory card, you may play this from your hand. Okay, yeah. So it has the same condition as the Black Cat. So it's basically okay if Black Cat if it didn't curse, but it kind of like had better selection of what cards you're drawing. And then when someone gets a victory card, you play this. You put 2 cards, and one of them could be another map maker, and then the map maker triggers off itself. The map maker triggers off that same victory card game, so you can start chaining map makers, including the ones that the map makers put into your hand. Otherwise, this is like kind of like a draw 2 with some selection, but it gets through your deck faster. It's kind of like it's not like a plus cards minus cards, because you can't discard the cards that are in your hand. You're kind of discarding the other cards, and it's kind of like it doesn't play well with other terminals, because it's just like, okay, like early on in the game I play this, and 4 cards up the top of your deck, you're most probably going to get your action card, and if you don't have village, like you're most probably going to have to like see that village card, your action on the top 4, then you can't play it without a village. So actually pretty. So it's kind of like early on, if you play this, It's like you find 2 copper, so it's like kind of like a virtual plus two. So it's like kind of like terminal silver, but you're kind of discarding a bunch of cards in your deck. So it's kind of like scavenger and messenger. It's that kind of effect. So it has some. Okay, I'm getting to my next shuffle faster. It gives you some card selection. Well, no, it's just you're getting to the end of your shuffle faster, but I don't feel I'm not like super feeling it with this card. I do like it's basically it's a bigger moat, but the reaction is kind of important. The reaction, it's like okay, I dealt with getting a bunch of these in my deck, but now that whenever you get a victory card, I'm just gonna like uh get like the row network effect with I just have like 4 of these, like 3 of these, and I just draw a bunch of nice stuff. Um, Although it's not guaranteed because maybe you don't have this start in the start of your hand, so it's like a lot. Road network was like guaranteed. So yeah, even there, it's like, and it costs 4, so it's not like Black Cat where you just like get a whole bunch of them near the end of the game. It's just, eesh. Maybe there's something I'm missing with. Maybe someone like is gonna lab this card out and be like, oh, it's pretty good, but maybe not. And obviously, you're gonna find your. It's obviously better than like what I described with getting +2 coins. If you're getting like a Kingdom Treasures, there's a lot. It's obviously really good in the context of Plunder with all these like good treasures that you might find. So it could be like a gold that gets to the bottom, or like even a +4. It If you have a lot of silvers or like a gold and a copper. So it has some potential to just be like interesting. Um, but it's gonna take some work. It's gonna take some synergy to make this good. Next card is Maroon. It's an action. Treasure cards from your hand, +2 cards per type it has. Okay, thank finally we have more of the stuff that cares about type, because like before it was just like courtier, and it was just like every time something has like 3 or 4 types, it's like, oh, that courtier synergy. Well, now it's like now we have that maroon synergy. So if it trashes a like an overgrown state, that would be like +4 cards. But most of the time it's like plus. It's like trash a card +2. Um, so it's like the reverse. If you just trash a card, it's like the reverse of Masquerade, which we know is kind of good. We know Masquerade is a good card. It's just this has to trash in order to draw. Like Recruiter, and then it trashes first and then draws. So it's like not as good as it made it seem, but it's not as good as the comparison to Masquerade would make it seem, even without the craziness with the swapping around. But maybe it draws 4. Maybe it draws like I just look at this jeweled egg here. Okay, jeweled egg is just a treasure, but all the loot cards have the loot type. Like if you look at Endless Chalice, and like, there's all of these have at least 2. So I don't know if you want to give up if I don't know if you want to give up an orb for like one of these loots for +4 cards, but maybe you do. Actually, you probably do, especially if you're stuck and you need something to draw. So you might get some good. You could get some good value out of this. There's what do we have? Three types for flagship, 3 types for stowaway, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. There's a lot of stuff you can trash that will give you cards. Um, Although a lot of these are like 4, so if you had an apprentice, you would just draw that much anyway if you trash those cards with apprentice a lot of the time. And this is like terminal, but it's 4. I mean, like the gap between 4 and 5 is pretty significant. So it's like you're getting this discount for like a worse apprentice effect in a lot of cases. But okay, it's still a trasher for 4, so you're still gonna get this. You're still gonna get good tempo on this. It's actually pretty uh, solid. We're gonna say it's a solid card. Next is the rope. This was previewed. At the start of your next turn, +1 card, and you may trash a card from your hand. So it's duration. So it's like kind of like Ratcatcher. It's like but you draws a card, so it's like you kind of like You stay hand side. You lose the one card on the turn you play it, but then you kind of get it back on the next turn. So it's kind of like supplies in that sense in terms of being draw neutral without the crazy horse synergy. So it's like it loses a lot by not having actually giving you horses, but it does replace itself, and then you can trash a card. And it's four, so you can like open it, and it gives plus buy, so like it covers a lot of that early game need. Like at least just having that one turn where you find this and you get plus buy, so like you could finally have that. If you generated like 6 or 7 every turn and you have like one rope, eventually you're gonna draw that rope and you're gonna finally get the time to get another plus buy card, which could just be a rope. You don't have to trash it. So you like already the rope is already something you can fall back on as your plus buy, even if it's not the best source of plus buy because it's every other turn. But when you consider how much it's doing for you in terms of the trashing to get to that step, it's like a really really solid card. Yeah. The next one is Swamp Shacks. This was a preview card too. Um, it's a 4 cost action. It gives 2 actions, plus 2 actions, and plus 1 card per 3 cards you haven't played. Round down. So obviously this is naturally good with duration. So if you have like all these durations in play, you can your first Swamp Shacks will still draw like 1 or 2 cards, but it gets kind of nuts pretty easy. Like if you have like any sort of deck that's just like doing general stuff, like playing Harbor Villages, you're playing stuff. Um, it's gonna draw. It's gonna be like draw 5 cards, draw 6 cards, overdraw. Like game, you play all your workshops, and then Swamp Shacks will like give you the actions to also play your workshop. So like let's say you're using Harbor Villages to help you with your kicking off with your draw, and then you start playing Swamp Shacks in the middle. So to like draw like maybe plus 2 cards, plus 3 cards, and then towards the end, your last few Swamp Shacks are like overdraw powerhouses while still giving actions for like your terminal gainers, your terminal payloads. Like it's like come on, it's ridiculous. It's just like if you get too many of these, it's not good. Like it's not good early because then you just draw it and it doesn't draw you a card, and you probably didn't need the actions that so badly that you sacrifice a card draw. And what was the other thing? Um, if you have like 4 of these in your starting hand, it's like yeah. So that's why it's kind of good with durations that like helped you mitigate how bad it is to have like too many swap checks early on, or just having duration draws. So, like you don't have to even play 3 of your swamp shacks. Like so you just find your like draw cards that aren't swamp shacks to play first. But this gets like it's in workshop range too, so it gets like intense. By the way, there's a loot card called the Hammer that's like gives 3 coins and lets you gain a 4 cost card, or has forces you to get a 4 cost card. But like that and Swamp Shacks, like I've seen that like be a convenient thing to go off. I mean, it has some. It could be situational, but like when it's good, it's like it's obscenely good when this is good, and it's obscenely good, reasonably often, within the decks that you want to build anyway. So, very solid card. Tools. This is just a 4 cost treasure that's gain a copy of a card anyone has in play. So it could gain your durations, it could gain opponent's durations, it could gain anything you have in play. So any of your normal actions, any of your treasures, it could gain pretty much anything that's you already have. I don't like sometimes like I forget how good this could be because sometimes I'm just like playing, messing around. I'm just like I all these other all these other treasures look so much better. Like, it's like I want a rope, I want like my money with abundance. What I'm gonna do with the tools and just gain like more of those other cards. Uh, but then you have other games where it's like, okay, I play tools and I get another nobles. Like that's it, just like free nobles just for just playing 1 card. So it's like a super workshop, and then you play. Oh yeah, just here's another free wharf for you, or here's another free I don't know, cabin boy or landing party, like whatever the hell you could think of. Just like have fun, get that for no action cost. It's just a matter of time. It's like it's a good card. Like you just don't want it early, and you just kind of have to like have some kind of reasonably okay middle-ish deck by the time you get this, and have cards that like you want to spam and have reliable ways of getting that. And have reason to believe that it's worth like sacrificing a card to draw into this and gain that for with no economy. But like when it's gaining one, it's actually gaining those like fives and stuff, like and sixes, and just things that you wouldn't reasonably think you should be able to gain. Or like your opponent has like gets ahead on like the worth count and you're just gonna get some back. I don't know, man. Like it's like just a weird. It's just like maybe it's just the art. Like something about it just like turns me off. About I don't know, but like come on, I've seen this like, be like good. Then we got the buried treasure. This is a treasure duration. At the start of your next turn, +1 blind, +3 coins. But then when you gain this, play it. So it's like you play this. Your next turn, you're already getting the coin. So it's kind of like if you're thinking about it in terms of spice, getting the spices at the end game, or getting the spices and you're getting some spiking power the next turn. Uh, getting some needed plus buy next turn, especially if you like this is your source of plus buy. It's like yeah, you're getting the plus buy every turn, but at least you get it next turn. Like when you probably you can already start using it. You don't have to wait a whole shuffle to start getting the plus buy. Uh, I think honestly think it's pretty. It's okay. It's actually it's like neat-ish. It's just it's Raider. I mean, in terms of once it's in your deck, it's just Raider with the plus buy, and doesn't have the attack, but it is a treasure. Um, so it has that type which could be relevant. Um, I mean, Map Maker will draw like it won't be drawn dead, but neither would Raider, so that's why I kind of make that comparison. But it costs 5 and not 6, and it has that like play this immediate like get your benefit next turn. So it has some recoups some of its investment right away. This is actually the first 5 cost card we get to, so we're gonna get to a lot of 5 cost cards. Let's see. Uh, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16 5 cost cards. That's and compared to 13 4 cost cards. And so there's always power in the 5, always concentration in the 5 cost cards. They never stop going away. Next is a new. This was previewed by the way, the buried treasure. The next one is crew. This was not previewed. It's +3 cards at the start of your next turn. Put this onto your deck. So it's the like the draw version of like conjure that like puts itself. No, it puts itself onto your deck, not into your hand. So it is very good with villages. Very good with villages because it's like okay, um, you play these as your draw, and then you know that next turn you're not gonna have a hand of crews because the crews are still in play. So you're not gonna draw into them on the fresh shuffle. You're gonna draw into other stuff. Hopefully gives actions, or if you already get like your actions from Taskmaster or something, or you have some kind of way of having actions. All you need is just one draw card, and then you get all of your crews back. I mean the main problem is that um, if you have 5 crews, you have no choice but to top deck all 5 of them, and it's like, what am I gonna do with 5 crews if I just like play a village, play a crew? I needed to find another village, but I just drew into another crew, which sucks. So it's not amazing. It's not it. You get some problems when you use this as your only uh, source of draw, but as like a like having like 2 copies of this, like or 1 or 2 copies of this, just to have that first kickoff turn where you know it's going to be at the top of your deck and all you need is like a village to just draw it. It's going to be really good. Like just you know that like you're being taken care of. It's just if the other draws like smithies, then maybe you draw those at the start. So if you have a bunch of non-terminal draw like labs, and then you have some crews that you just picked up. Although, why would you get crews if you have? Well, no, because they top deck themselves. I don't know. Maybe your draw is limited, or if you have like a siren, it's like you have like you're drawing up to 8. You're drawing up to 8 or something. You're drawing some kind of limits, but if you get smithies, you get some of them should some of your smithies. If there's like 2 smithies on the board, make sure that some of them are crews. That's just like really easy tip. just have some crews in your deck. They're just going to be very handy. And they don't like he doesn't have the problem of it's every other turn because it's like gets out of play onto your deck, so you can play it every turn. And just to clarify, so Cutthroat, action duration attack, with a name like that, no surprise. Each other player discards down to 3 cards in hand. The next time anyone gains a treasure costing 5 or more, gain a loot. I'm just silent. I'm just like thinking it's like okay, so it's militia for 5, but it gives you no money the turn you play it. Oh, and it's okay, so it's the next time. So it's like it just stays in play until someone finally gets a treasure costing 5 or more. And I mean the idea is like okay, there's all these nice treasures that cost 5 or more. We're gonna get to them. It's like well we saw buried treasure, we saw pickaxe, we saw like all of the loot cards. So like jeweled egg is a 5. Any treasure, so you get the loot, but it doesn't go to your hand. It just goes to the discard, and then you finally get this back. So it's not good as a attack card because it's like you're not gonna be able to play it very often, but it does um, incentivize the opponent. Well, no, once discard attack, and then like if you have like 5 of these in play and you suddenly get like 5 loots, it's like okay, but then instead of like 5 cutthroats, I was just like kind of. Eesh. And like, what happens if the opponent doesn't want any treasures costing 5 or more? What if there is no um, loot and it's just no one's gonna buy gold because it's like silver is good enough. Like they just need silver, and then all the other economy is from like action cards, which is what people have been hyping up since well for quite a while. It's like people are like, yo, gold sucks, or maybe just like at best you gain a gold with like a gold gainer. So this is not buy. This is like when they gain a gold. So it's like or gain anything costing 5 or more. So okay, it has if they're trying to ramp up with treasure, you kind of meet them, but all that just to get one loot that's delayed, and it's like you don't have the initiative. They get the treasure first. No, it's about the same time. You have the initiative because they get the treasure, and then you have the turn after you get the next turn first. So with the loot next, so you do get initiative on getting the loot before they get to use their fancy treasure. Maybe because maybe you don't draw into the loot, but it's I mean same thing for the opponent. So you do have overall you do get some initiative on that, and it's terminal. But how many of you are just going to have anyway? You'll get it sometimes, but it's like it's cost 5. It's like, why don't I just like get a 5 that like encourages my game plan, like improves my deck instead of this like one-off like discard attack that like maybe doesn't do anything else for the rest of the game. Unless I mean it stays in play, so it's like good for like swamp shacks and but like remember pillage, guys? I mean pillage was 5 cost action that trashed itself and discarded a card of your choice from the opponent if they have 5 or more cards in hand. Discard a card of your choice, and then you get 2 spoils. And like that card sucks. Like we know from experience that card is like bad. And this is like, well, you get 1 loot and you get to keep that loot, but then you have to redraw into the cutthroat, so it's kind of like you still have 2 stop cards. It's like, man, I'm not feeling it. Next card is 5 cost action duration. Now at the start of your next turn, trash a card from your hand and gain 1 costing up to 2 more than it. So double remodel. You forced to trash. I mean, on the one hand, it's like yeah, it maybe misses the shuffle. Uh, but on the other hand, it's like it misses the shuffle, but like it did the thing that you wanted to like. It did the thing that you wanted it to do anyway. It's like I wanted to draw the card so that I could get um the remodel effect. Well, it's like you're getting the remodel effect next turn anyways. Like even when you miss a shuffle, it's like you're getting that same effect twice, but then you're not drawing into it twice. So it's like, okay, if you get this, you open with this on 5-2, and then you find it on turn 3. It's like so much better than if you find it on turn 4. So I guess in that sense, it's not fun. It's a lot of variance to that. So kind of a problem. That's kind of an annoyance for a card that like, you want to get early. It's just like, oh, how much better is it when I draw turn 3 versus turn 4? In a case like this with enlarge, probably pretty high that you want to see this turn 3. Now, maybe it doesn't find an estate on the next turn, so then maybe you have to trash a copper, and if there's no twos, you're turning it into an estate. And until you trash the estate is like if you don't draw the estate with the enlarge, it's like that could have been a copper, and I could have bought something one costing one more. So it's kind of wants to have two cost cards or something, or like have a source of silvers so that like you're likely to at least trash the silver into a 5, and then like you buy a 3 with your coppers, which would be the same as if you had just used the silver to buy a 5. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe there's some problems, but um, it is too remote. If you're like know that you're trying to try to like get rid of provinces to like remove like gold to province or something, this is two of those effects for one terminal action. So there is some efficiency towards the end game, the mid game, end game, and if you get like a good turn, if you happen to hit both of your states early on, but it's just like to open with this with a 5, that had to be no better 5. Like couldn't just like trash a card anyway and then give some kind of other benefit like well, recruiter, maybe that's a bit too much, but like let's say junk dealer in a case where you don't want too many of the 4s, and then like for the rest of the game you still have that junk dealer that's non-terminal. This is terminal each time. It's not it's not, I don't think it's amazing, but it's going to have it's something. It's something. Figurine, it's looks like the Trojan horse, but like miniaturized, but it's just on a table. Just from far, it looks like it might be the Trojan horse, but it's just not. It's a 5 cost treasure, plus 2 cards. You may discard an action card for +1 buy and +1 coin. What? Okay, but no, I get it though, because it's like if you have a, let's say you have 2 of these, you play them and you draw, and then like you draw some stuff dead, but those actions you play dead, you discard them for some money and some a plus buy. So it's a kind of like non-terminal vault, kind of, not really, because you can't discard your estates, but maybe you played your coppers anyway, so you discard a few things and you get a plus buy. And non-terminally, and that's a big deal because it's like, why you're gonna play like a terminal for vault, sometimes you don't have that space, but for this, um, it's hard to evaluate like how good those +2 cards are going to be on a given deck in your buy phase. It's typically not something that you like to do in your buy phase. It is a start of your buy phase, so if you find other treasures, you get to play them. So it's still like it's better. Um, that people you might think it's the same thing with like idle, where it's like sometimes you get like a +1 card, but maybe you drew a treasure and you still get to play it. I think it's not bad. I think you'll get this. You'll get this for the buy. So if you want to buy, maybe you won't get so many if you just want because like during your action phase, this is a dead card. This is not drawing you anything in your action phase, so that's a big issue. The next card is First Mate. This was previewed. Um, so it's 5 cost. Play any number of action cards with the same name from your hand, then draw until you have 6 cards in hand. So you play this. Maybe you like if this is your second First Mate in the turn, you'll have a 6 card hand. So you play this, you have 5 cards in hand, and you find whatever copies you have multiples of, and you play those. And if they didn't draw, you drop the 6. And if they did draw, well, they drew, so you're pretty happy. So it's like kind of like a throne, multi-throne. The trick here is that you want more than one of these. So what happens is you play a First Mate, you play another First Mate, you play some cards in your hand, then you drop the 6. And then if you draw another First Mate, you play that First Mate based on the first one, playing like based on a row of First Mates. So the first First Mate first FM, let's just call it FM, you play, plays a bunch of them, and then those FMs like take turns playing like a one copy, multiple copies of one action, and you can chain them like that. And in practice, it turns out to be pretty good. There's a bunch of cards that might not draw. Stowaways might not draw. Well, they'll draw next turn, but like things like flagship. Some of these other like there's a card in Mining Road that doesn't draw. And if any of those cards gave actions, you're gonna get all of those actions back. So pretty potent cards. It's a bit slow to get going because it's like you get this on 5, and then if you have like 1 or 2 copies of each card, and then it's like it doesn't feel great that you play this and then like maybe you don't even have a turn, like you don't have can't even continue your action phase. But like as the game goes on, it's kind of like Swamp Shacks a little bit. In terms of as the game goes on, as your deck gets better, the value of the first mates like just goes up considerably. Like maybe not as cracked as absurd as Swamp Shack in terms of the draw, but like this is doing a lot for you, still doing a lot for you in terms of like making your deck function. The next one is Frigate. I'll tell you this. There is one. All I know, but I have all I've seen is that people are convinced that this is the best card of the set. It's like there was like a ranking, and like I didn't see any of the what the cards do because I didn't want to be spoiled on anything. But people are like, put Frigate on 1. And I'm like, okay, what does it even do? It's a 5 cost action, duration, attack, plus 3 coins. Okay, that's already something. Until the start of your next turn, each time another player plays an action card, they discard down to 4 cards in hand afterwards. Well, okay, but like, isn't the first card you play on each of your turns like Village most of the time? Oh, but it's down to 4. So if it's like it like counters all that stuff that's just like I'm gonna get duration draw. I'm gonna play like 3 stowaways. I'm gonna go to like start with my turn with like 9 cards in hand, and then it's like, well, no, you aren't because you play one like literally anything, and then you go back down to 4. So it shuts down. So the power of this is that it's shutting down all their cleanup, all of your duration draw, not just like, oh, these cards go back into your hand during cleanup so that Militia hits them. There's a lot of cards that Militia doesn't hit. There's like Den of Sin or something that like draws dwarves. They don't all draw. Um, and the thing is, those effects are typically some of the most powerful effects in the like in terms of reliability, duration draw. Like having a starting hand. The hardest thing is kicking off with like just 5 cards in hand and getting the right combination of 5 cards. But if you're like at 9 cards, it's really good for kicking off. And as a bonus, like you just have like 5 less cards you need to draw your deck or something. But then, so the thing with Frigate is that if an opponent plays Village, let's say if they have like 9 cards in hand, they play Village, they discard down to 4, but they still have their Smithy, so they still have their turn. But they lose a lot of that free draw that they get. So they're not completely hosed because at least they like have their card selection. They get to figure out after they play a card the 4 best. They get their pick of the 5 best cards in their hand. But what this does is that makes sure that it's like they only get the 5 best cards in their hand. They don't get any other stop cards. They don't get anything else to work with. I don't know if that makes it good enough to make it the best card in the set because otherwise this is like if they're not drawing extra cards, let's just otherwise it's more like just to discard down to 4. It's more like because it's not like you're discarding a random card either. They're like playing their village first, they're playing their cantrip first, and then discarding their worst card. So it's like that's not like killer, especially since like this only happened. This is like a duration effect, so it's like you only get to you have to like stagger these. You have to have like 2 of these in play to like make sure that you're discarding down to 4 every turn. And like if they're not drawing a lot at the start of the turn, they're not doing a lot. It's not a big deal to discard 1 card. It is a big deal to discard 5 cards when so it basically just shuts down some of the strongest some of the strongest draw in the game. Like Warfare, I don't know, but like if Denison's not the strongest draw in the game because it's like it's really good at the start, but then like it kind of like becomes just okay-ish. But at any rate, this hurts a lot of stuff. This hurts. What did we? What does this hurt? Like look, the Stowaway, the Siren, our friend. Well, yeah, it does hurt Cage too, but Grotto, yeah, it hurts that because uh, not search. A bunch of these cards that I was saying were like good, right? This here's the other thing. Let's say you start your turn with. No, you wouldn't start your turn with a landing party because those top deck. No, they do top deck thing next turn. So like you start your turn with a lab. You start your turn with a landing party. Now you're just starting 2 cards. That is more significant. So it's like kind of saying your first draw card does nothing. Uh, your first draw card um doesn't do nothing. It basically your first card becomes a oasis or an inn or something, some kind of plus for each card it draws, it discards that many cards. So it's like every time any kind of card that you see that's like where's the smithy here? Crew. You start your turn, you play a crew because you had actions to spare from Taskmaster or something, and instead of saying +3 cards, it says +3 cards, discard 3 cards. That's not nearly as impressive anymore. Just from one card, just one card doing that, and I guess +3. But still, I don't know if it's like I don't know what else is in the set that's going to be like killer, but I can see why there's some talk about this because it does have some because it's not helping you in any way. It's just like +5. It's just like kind of hosting the opponent, but it's not like doing you an amazing favor, and it's really not doing anything if like the first card is the every turn's gonna be Harbor Village. Like every turn, the first card is just Cabin Boy. It's like, eh. But then again, why wouldn't you play? It's discard 1 card. It's like okay, maybe you still fit that if you have the actions, if you have the Harbor Village, if you have villages, you might fit that into one of or 2 of. But if you're not action starved, like if you are action starved, if there's no villages, are you gonna make Frigate your only? Are you gonna make Frigate your only terminal? Um, for an effect that's like significantly less damaging than Legionary, and you don't even get to you need 2 of these anyway to even like, and you need 2 of these to even do it every turn. I don't know. Enough. Let's go to the launch. Let's go to the other build. It's 5 cost action duration. Yeah, I'm coughing. That's just how it is. Um. Actually, that's why I wasn't planning to do a preview video. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do a video for all of this at all because of my cough. I had to get it. I got it checked and it's like whatever. They did the X-rays. I'm fine. But this is 5 cost action duration plus 2 actions at the start of your next turn plus 2 cards. Yeah, man, that's good. Like remember, like there was the Stowaway has to do this whole song and dance just to like get into play more often. The Longship's just like, oh yeah, you could just um play me. I'll be like kind of uh, a weird caravan, but I give you plus an extra action. So it's like if this was a +1 action plus 2 cards, it'd be like caravan, but a bit worse because it's not as like. Well, I don't know if it's a bit worse, but there's some. It'll depend on the draws, but this is just like okay, you get an extra action. Um, and then when you have an extra action, when you have a larger hand size, um, you have more ways. You're more likely to be able to make use of those actions. So it feeds into itself really well. So I'm pretty happy to see something like Longship. I'm not. It's still not enough. Like if you split these 5/5, it's still not as much draw as like it's not enough to like draw your deck. That's just something. That's just like the law of how these how the Den of Sin variants work. It's just not enough. Or like the caravans. It's just not enough draw to like draw your deck. It needs to have like an extra card to start getting to draw deck. It's just that's just how the efficiency. It's not that the efficient. It's just the because you're not able to play these every turn. It's just the law of how the efficiency works on these cards. And you're drawing to the other copies. But in exchange for the extra action, when it's doing that while when it's helping you with the reliability while giving you the extra action to play your terminals like your crews and stuff, now we're talking. Mining Road is this was previewed. It's +1 action, +1 buy, +2. Once this turn, when you gain a treasure, you may play it. So, in the context of allies, this not allies, plunder, this is pretty good. Hold, give me a moment here. In the context of plunders, this is pretty good because there's a lot of treasure that you might want. Not so much that we've seen that we haven't already seen. Most of the really good treasures are like the loot cards that we've like what Gondola is amazing. No, I don't think that's something. Well, being able to play like an abundance or something. Being able to play some of these cards, the KH2, the turn you get them, you're getting that whole shuffle fast. So it's kind of like replacing. It's kind of like replacing itself. So kind of giving you a discount on treasures. So it's basically like a quarry for treasures because you get to play the treasure that you gain, and usually that thing is going to when you buy a treasure, it kind of recoups the cost. Because +2 and yeah, so it kind of recoups some of the cost to play the treasure. And the other thing that's good is that it gets plus buy and it's disappearing action. So like you can play it in the action phase and then so it's good with draw to X. So you can play it in the action phase and then if you have like a first mate, you play like 2 mining roads and then you draw up and you get those actions that you can use for other stuff. Similar to like Coven. Like Coven, it has that sometimes it's convenient when you have the Coven and you just like want cards you can play in the action treasure money that you can play in the action phase. But this has plus buy, so it's like okay, when you're doing that, you're actually getting something that's like much more needed in your end of turn deck than just the treasure. Next card is Pendant. We've had this previewed. This is a lot of these question mark treasures. This is a 5-cost treasure. It's +1 for differently named treasure you haven't played. So if you remember Bank from Prosperity, that's like +1 per treasure you haven't played. This is for differently named treasures. So it's like you get a discount if you have a copper, silver, gold. You play this, it's like +4. And if there's no other treasures in the kingdom, this is all it's ever going to be is like a +4 for 5 with no plus buy. And it could, with reasonable luck, you can make this a gold for 5. The thing is, buying gold for 5, buying gold for 6 is not something that's very, you're not very happy to do that a lot. And even for a 5, it's not something that you're pretty happy for. But if you're getting +5 or 6, it's like, it's better, obviously. Like, in the context of the loot, it's like pretty good. Like, these loot cards, they all have different names, and there's 30 of them. There's like 2 of each, and there's like cards like rope and stuff. So it gets to like okay numbers, but like it needs, if there's treasures that give plus buy, so if it has like a synergy where like you're getting your plus buy and some money from other treasures, then you play this. It's like, okay, but why am I talking so much about this card? I don't think it's particularly good. There's all these other stuff I still want to talk about. Man, let's take pickaxe. It's a 5-cost treasure. It's gives 1 and the trash a card you have. And if you catch a card in your hand, so this is more like goat. It's forced trashing, but still. If it costs 3 or more, gain a loot to your hand. So this is just. I have a lot of fun with this. If you trash a silver, you get a loot, and the loot typically has plus buy. Not always, but it'll have the plus buy. And if it doesn't have the plus buy, the next time you play pickaxe, you trash that loot and get something that does have plus buy. So it can re-roll your loot, and you get. And it's also just thinning your deck, and then it's also trashing stuff that you don't need anymore. And towards the end, and the loot goes to your hand, by the way. So trash a card from your hand if it costs 3 or more, gain a loot to your hand. So, if I didn't say that in full. And so, like, if on the last turn you have 2 pickaxes or 3 pickaxes or something, and then you trash all of your extra draw cards, and you trash your swamp shacks, and now suddenly you have like extra 9 money, like on your last turn. So it has like that. cash in everything at the very end of the game. You could even you could trash a province and get an extra +3, hopefully, unless you get like the endless chalice. But that could be the winning play. Or you trash the duchy if you think that you can end on the provinces. There's quite a bit of Well, there's quite a bit of fun to be had with the pickaxe. I like the pickaxe. One of my favorite. It's possibly my favorite of the preview cards. The next one is Pilgrim. Uh, it's a 5 cost action. It's +4 cards. Put a card from hand onto your deck. So I saw just the staff just reminds me of like what's called Teferi from Magic the Gathering. Just because Teferi also like he tends to have poses like that, and he has his like staff thing that has the ornate thing. This is just like a stick, and um but he also has like the long the long sleeves and stuff. So that's what I thought of that. But put a card from your hand onto your deck. Um, so yeah, so it's big courtyard. Okay. Um, let me see. +4. So courtyard was like a moat. Well, with some card selection. Well, no, it's not a moat. It's like +2. The first courtyard is really good. Similarly, the first pilgrim on your turn is going to be really good because it's going to be like an extra card that you see and you top deck something, and then you don't have to draw that until later. So like, in terms of kicking off your turn, um, this helps. There's also like if you want to set up your next turn, you can do that. But the thing is, courtyard, when you do that with courtyard, that was a 2 cost. So like you get this 2 cost card, and you're kind of sifting, putting the treasures that you don't need now on top of your deck, so that you can buy the cards at the exact price, and then save your money for later. But this is 5. It's like I'm not paying 5 for that. I want the really good stuff for 5. But as a draw card, it's like the first one is better than Smithy, and then the rest of them are like Smithies because they're like drawing into that card you top decked. Um, for 5, I think that's okay. Uh, there is interaction with the top deck that could be important. Like if you have Mystic or things that trash from the top, like I don't know, like Zombie Mason. We haven't seen too much of that in this. We have the Map Maker, but that's like just drawing. That's just drawing cards anyway. That's something powerful stuff to do with the top of the deck. But maybe if you have a mining, what's it called, a farming village, and you pass over green cards. So there's like some synergy with the top of the deck, but usually it's like sometimes you want the second to top, like Wishing Well cares with the second to top card. Uh, hmm, it's okay. It's okay. The next card is Quartermaster. At the start of each of your turns for the rest of the game, choose one. Gain a card costing. So it's a 5 cost action duration. So at the start of each of your turns for the rest of the game, choose one. Gain a card costing up to 4, setting it aside this turn. Setting it aside on this, or put a card from this into your hand. Oh, okay. So I thought it was going to be like a workshop every turn, but no, it's just like it's a workshop every other turn, or it's like you do workshop like 3 turns, and then you pick the cards that you want the most. Um, it's actually pretty good because like um you get some villages, and then whenever you actually need like a card in your starting hand, it's like remember that card that you gained earlier. Well, now you put it into your hand when you need it. So it's kind of like um if you think of Cobbler, you didn't have to. No, Cobbler was a night card, so you never had to play it. Actually, spend an action on it the first time. But this is like um a Cobbler that you never have to draw again. But the thing is, you do have to. You don't get to pick what card you want to go into your hand. You have to already have the card that you want to put in your hand already set aside. So you don't know necessarily what you need in your next hand. You don't know if you need a village or if you need a smithy, for example, or if you need just treasure. But you don't have to draw it again, and you don't have to play it again. It's just there for the rest of the game. So I think being able to seed your starting hand with an extra card that's like typically going to be like something that helps you draw. That's good. Uh, decent to good card. Next one is Silver Mine. Gain a treasure costing less than this into your hand. To your hand. I'm trying to remember if there are cards that like reduce the cost of treasures. I guess there are. There's a trait that you put onto a card that like makes it cost 1 less. So that's good. trade cards. Okay, so silver mine. Okay, that's the idea. It's gaining a silver mine. Yeah, it's not silver mint. Okay, it's silver mine. I didn't have my glasses, so I thought like from far, I thought maybe it was going to be a T. Uh, it puts a silver into your hand, so it's explorer, but without having to spend an action on it. So yeah, more explorer variants. It's always nice. Um, you still have to keep drawing into the silver mine, but yeah, yeah. So you're increasing your econ. Very simple card, just increases your economy, but maybe you're gaining ropes instead. Maybe you're gaining. Well, Gondola's better than silver. Just yeah, because you gain this, and then you play an action in your hand, and then you could always just play it as a silver. Abundance. I mean, there's some stuff you can gain to your hand even. So let's see. I keep having to like think about Cage again. It's like what is locking things away? I have no idea, but like it's gonna feel weird to play this card. But Crucible. Um, I mean, yeah. So like it's the Cordy. Any card would just like okay, you have your deck, and now you just want to like ramp up your treasure each turn. Ramp up your payload each turn. This is gonna be one of those cards. It's not the only card if it's type. There's plenty where that came from, but maybe not so well. There's the cards like tools, you know. This is 4, and this is 5. And if you have a golden play, this oh, but this doesn't get to your hand, okay. But still, it's like you draw. You're one turn delayed, but you eventually draw that golden next turn. So you're always like one turn behind at the payload, but you are getting gold. So eventually, over time, this is probably going to be more value than gaining silvers. The tool's going to be more value than gaining silvers. Um, but at least this is getting a bit more advantage of the first time you play it. Trickster. I've heard. I think before I realized that the cards were already up, people were talking about like, why is this card so bad as a witch? So I don't even know. I just know it's an attack and it's not supposedly impressive. But so it's a 5-cost action attack. Each other player gains a curse. Once this turn, when you discard a treasure from play, you may set it aside, put it into your hand at end of turn. So when you discard a treasure from play, that's doesn't say other than during cleanup. So that's during cleanup. So one of the cards um, that you play goes into your hand. So it doesn't give +2. It doesn't give any money now. It just gives some money next turn as an extra card. So it's like basically like it's not a duration card. So that's the thing. Is that instead of being next at the start of your next turn +2 coins or +3 coins, it's saying just add 3 money to your next hand. Or it's not adding because if you're drawing deck, it's just like it's one less card you're drawing, but it's not increasing the amount of money you're not increasing the amount of economy you have in your hand. It's just helping you um, draw less. So it's kind of like ensuring that you at least have like a minimum of this much money. But you can play this every turn. It is cursing. It's kind of like a. I mean, if we're going back to like what the um, last 5-cost card I could think of that just gave a curse without drawing every time it was played there was Soothsayer, which gives them a card but gives you a gold that you get. So that one does increase your payload each time you play it. It gives no money, and then Montebank, which was like okay +2 now, and then like they gain 2 cards and they gain 0. But if they gain 2 cards and they just keep giving them copper, that was like pretty ridiculous. This is okay. I don't think this is bad. I mean, I'm gonna get. At some point in the game, I'm gonna get a trickster. Like maybe, even if it's iffy at the start, like when you just like putting copper aside, like or silver at best aside. Yeah, it's iffy, but like at some point, I'm gonna be like playing this every turn. Like if I'm in a situation where I could play this every turn, why wouldn't I? So yeah, I mean, it's still a cursor and it's still gonna get played. So I don't know what. I hope people don't hate on this too much. Oh, Wealthy Village, yes. So this is a previewed card. 5-cost action. plus one action, plus two action, plus one card, plus two action. When you gain this, if you have at least if you have at least three differently named treasures in the plane, gain a loot. So maybe you just get this as sometimes you just have to get this as like a 5 cost village, but typically you get this for the loot, and it's convenient that when you're getting an engine component and a um, payload card all in one package for 5, that's pretty good. So let's just like get this and gain a gold, get something that's probably a bit better than gold, so long as you meet the condition. And you don't have to meet the condition. You can say like, well, I don't want to loot right now. I'll loot later. Although like hot tip, if you have trashing, if you're already trashing, you probably do want to loot now. That's just like unless you're gonna get like 5 of these, and then you know that like maybe you don't want like 5 loot cards necessarily, but you would want like at least 3 of them, and then that's your that's like a good chunk of your economy right there if you want. And some of these loots cards are like well, this the last one is a sack of loot, just to give you a sense. Like this is a 6 cost treasure that just gives you a loot and gives a plus buy. So it's like okay if you're just like want to just spam treasures, and so this is like kind of like the silver mine. Less money now, but you're getting some pretty powerful cards potentially, and a plus buy each time you play it. And if you get like multiple of these, then you're just like going big money. You're going like loot engine province. So you're hitting like 1 or 2 provinces a turn, and you're doing all the stuff that like seeds your next hand to like do some cool stuff. Just a quick look at like the loot again. There's so much to talk about. I don't want to go through all of the loot cards, but like you can kind of see what they're going for. This one doesn't have plus buy. Does top deck, so like as like a third loot card, this is okay. However, this is either really good or just like if all of the 4 costs are terminal or something, or silver, it's but like it still gives 3. And if it's getting like swamp shacks or like any of this other like crazy, oh look like the harbor village landing party, it's like uh, uh the cabin. Look at all look at just like consider all the stuff that it could be gaining. So figurehead is if you're like not yet at deck, if like you're getting a loot and you really want deck control and you think you could get the deck control just by drawing cards, maybe it's okay. But like otherwise, you're not getting that plus buy, and you're not filling it every turn. So it's kind of like inconvenient at the points where like, okay, I have my deck now. I just want to spam as much loot as possible, get as much money now that I have my deck, and then you get figurehead, and it's like, well, now that's like the economy I should have gotten cut in half. So, yeah, prize gold is pretty convenient actually. Um, for trashing if you're like if you're occasionally getting like a if there's some straggling coppers because if your trasher was like sentry or something, or if you're getting hit by like a shaman, or there's like someone's trying to do something fancy with like late game cursing and you have a goat, it's like okay, well I'm gonna get 1 extra trash. It's convenient. Jewels is like okay, you make sure that you don't draw at the top of your shuffle. Like you basically after you've shuffled freshly, then it puts itself at the bottom. So you're not gonna like um, draw it in the. So you're not gonna have it on the bottom of the deck at before cleanup happens. So like you're not gonna keep tripping over it. Doubloons doesn't give buy, but you can remodel the gold into something. And maybe if it's like your uh third loot card and you have plus buy already, that's like 6 money, and somehow you have a lot of draw. Unless Chalice, man, I don't even know, man. It's, Am4, I talked a little bit about it before. Sometimes you like if you the problem with the loot is like just like there's like so much loot in your hand, you just like want to just play it all. You don't want to think like it's already so much. It's so exhausting. So like then on top of that, you have to think about if you want to put M4 for the next turn. It's like at some point you're just gonna be like so often you're just gonna be like screw it, play it for buy now. But like if you didn't have that emotional like exhaustion and you just thought about like optimize your play, like there would be more situations where you'd see like, okay, I'm at 4, I'm 4, I could go next turn. Or like sometimes it's obvious, like it's like you have like um 11 money if you play M4 now, or you could just buy problems and put M4 next turn. If you have like 19 and 2 buys, just like or if you'd have like if you already had like 16 and 2 buys, what why not just play the M4 for next turn? Orbit's like good if you get loot during the buy phase, but then it already gives +1 buy +2 coins. So like it's sometimes if you get something like during your action phase, um, you can play it. Like if it's a cursor, it's something like something pretty has to be pretty damn. It has to be pretty powerful to be like worth playing in the buy phase over the plus buy +2 points. So I'm not super high on that. Spell scroll gives you something that's cheaper than it, and it's either really amazing because it's some really good 6 cost card that you'd rather want instead of the treasure, or it's like, well, I really wanted plus buy, or I really wanted +3 money, so I'm just gonna like cash this in for like a gold, or I'm gonna cash this in for something that gives plus buy, like cash this back into another sack of loot, or like I don't know, jewel egg. Hopefully not a jewel egg. Oh god, and it's like there's some cards that like so jewel egg is like you only get one shot at it per jewel egg, you know. So it's like, but it's like you could play it in the action phase. You could play it in the action phase and play an action that you play. So it's like wish, but like actually a little bit better since it can't be drawn dead. So it's like pretty powerful. Shield just protects you if it's in your starting hand, but like has to be in your starting hand. So unless you have like unless you have like the squirrels in play, like just increase your cleanup hand size, it's like it's gonna be hard to get this one of into your starting hand. Sextant just sets up your next hand, like sets up some stuff. It's actually pretty. I like the sextants because it's just like it's just when you already have a lot of loot already, and if you're going for the mass loot plan, like it's just gonna like seed your next hand from like get rid of any provinces in there, make sure you afford it again, or you know that there's some horses on the bottom, like some draw villages on the bottom, so you can just set them up, or you just like discard some coppers. It's got some help. Similarly, the puzzle box. I don't know why I decided to talk about these. So I'm leave these loot boxes. Puzzle boxes are quite good. It's like you have an extra component they had an extra village that you didn't play, just set it aside. You have an extra province that, worst case, you're like putting like a province aside, and at least you're not drawing it. And it's a May, so it's never bad. Staff plays an action in your hand, and it's like if you have so much loot, how much um spare action, like how often are you going to be starved for that one extra action? It's like you don't want to be playing around like, oh, I need to draw my staff every turn to play my extra terminal. So you don't want to play like that, especially even if you do get the staff early, there's only 2 of them, so it's like and there's a lot of actions you don't want to play during your buy phase, but it is um sometimes you don't draw every village. Sometimes you don't have. It lets you support one more terminal for um, convenient. Like if you already get the +3 and +1 coin, so you do get like one extra terminal slot. Um, so it's as if it said +2 actions. Like it, even though it's in the treasure, so it's like doesn't cost its action. So it's like it's as if staff said, get these bonuses and then get the +2 action. So that is something convenient. Yes, it's true. And then sword it makes them discard down to 4. That's maybe will be good. But it's not like um, if they draw like with duration draw afterwards, it doesn't hit that. It's not like the frigate like I talked about. And now we have to go through all these traits and then the events. So the traits is something that gets put on a pile. So let's say cheap cards cost 1 less. So like you could have up to 2. It counts as a landscape slot. So you can have like up to 2 of these, and they go on different piles. So like a cheap card costs 1 less. I mean, yeah. Like what is I'm gonna say about that? Probably want the card more now. Cursed, actually pretty convenient. This is like you get a loot. I just want to say like you get a loot and a curse, but you're turning anything that you'd probably be getting anyway into like suddenly a wealthy village, or just like a one shot get a loot, get like some gold at the same cost as like some 3 cost one of. That's good. The curse is a problem, so maybe you don't want to do that too early. Basically, it's like if there's some card that you can get convenient, that's going to be convenient in the mid game, you can get a curse. You can get it and you'll be pretty good. Faded is new. I haven't seen it. Some of these traits were previewed. Um, Faded is when shuffling, you may look through the cards and reveal faded cards. Put them on the top or the bottom. Okay. Um, it's nice if I could top deck a like a village or something. Um, and if it's nice if I could bottom deck some kind of payload card, something that's like just giving me coins. Um, Pretty cool. But it's like once per shuffle, so it's still let me see, clean up, you discard everything. Yeah, you discard everything. So it's like yeah. Yeah, you still get this if you're drawing deck. Fawning is when you get a province gain the fawning card, it's like you don't have much control over that. It's just except do you get province or not. Friendly at the start of your cleanup phase, you may discard a friendly card to gain a friendly card. Um, yeah, actually, that's kind of cool because like there's like cards like what's it called, Way of the Rat, where it's like you have to play it as a terminal, and then you have to discard some kind of treasure. You have to discard a treasure, and then you get a copy of it. This is just like, well, don't do that. Don't go through all that. Just discard the thing itself. It is considerably better than Way of the Rat, if you ask me. And you don't even have to play an action for it. Hasty um, plays the card. Um, Plays the card at the start of the next turn as soon as you gain it. So when you gain a hasty card, set it aside and play it at the start of your next turn. Yeah, I mean, like sometimes I'll make it a lot more desirable to get most cards. Inherited is set up. You start the game with an inherited card in place for a starting card you choose. I mean, it's either you place an estate or you place a copper. You can't deny. You can't not accept the inherited card. So you, there's too much. I mean, it's what do you say? You just you deal with the cards you're given, essentially. Inspiring. After playing an inspiring card on your turn, you may play an action from your hand that you don't have a copy of in play. So turn everything into like the conclave effect. That's cool. Nearby. When you gain a nearby card plus one by. Oh, okay. I mean, turns out into form. That is pretty convenient. And if it's a cheap card, it means that they can like you have to just remember that you can auto pile. Like maybe not. If you have enough money, you can like really pile drive any nearby card. As long as you have enough money. So that's pretty potent. If it's a cheap card, like if it's like if you have 7 money and the nearby card is like some 3 cost cantrip, you can get that at a 4. It'll be convenient. It's just maybe you can't rely on this as your plus buy. Patient. At the start of your cleanup phase, you may set aside patient cards from your hand to play them at the start of your next turn. So this is like good, I guess, if you have like over. I haven't gotten much use out of this, but this is good if you have like excessive draw and you don't have some cards you don't need to play. But it's also good if you just like you have this card that gives you +2 money that you don't need to play, or you didn't have the actions to play, and then you can just play it at the next turn and be pretty happy that at least you got something out of it. So it does make the patient cards more desirable. Pious is when you gain when you gain a pious card, you may trash a card from your hand. Yeah, do that. It's many of the pious cards. If you even wanted the card in the first place, it's going to be really good to just open with it and trash like an estate or something. Or and just throughout the game, knowing that like that card has the. If you get like 5 of that card, you've trashed 5 cards just by buying it, so it's really good. Reckless, swatting a wasp's nest. Follow the instructions of played reckless cards twice, then discarding one from play. When discarding one from play, return it to its pile. Oh, okay. So the reckless cards are doing double duty for you, and then they go away. I mean, if it's a village, discarding any of um, I guess it's all of I guess it's all of them. So it's like if it is a village, you're gonna lose all of those villages. It's not just like one. It would say if like when you just discard up to one of them at least one of the. It would say like uh put one of them into your back to its pile. This is all of them. So it's good for a cantrip. It turns like if any of the reckless cards are cantrips, it just turns them into like encampments, but better, but without the possibility of keeping them. So it's. But if it's a money card, I don't know. Well, if it's a duration card, it doesn't. You can still get the full duration effect because it's not you're not discarding from play yet. So if the reckless card is a quartermaster, it won't even matter. If it's a secluded shrine, though, I don't know. Rich. When you get a rich card, you gain silver. Okay. It's kind of a problem if that's a rich card is a village, but if the rich card is like the trasher you start with, like if it's like a remake or something, that's like really good. It's good if there's like a card that you want one or two of, and then it's like instead of getting the silver, having to spend a turn getting a silver, spending a buy, just get the rich card and then just get the components that you need. Get the other components. Shy is also shy is at the start of your turn you may discard one shy card for +2. That's really good. That is makes you just want to get extra of the card, the shy card, just because even if you get that starting reliability, and then you just like you can later draw that shy card and play it. You can only do one shy card per turn, but it's a really good effect. It's like if you have extra terminals, or if you just get like you have some stowaways or things that are going to draw at the start of your next turn, but you don't want them now. You want to draw them at the end. Just if they're shy, you really want more of those so that you always get the +2. Tireless is the last trait. When you discard a tireless card from play, set it aside and put it onto your deck at the end of turn. I'm trying to think if that's. I think that's after cleanup. That's like you discard it from play, and then after you draw your cards for cleanup, then you put this on top. So has the effect of crew. Ascent, kind of. I mean, that's at the start of your next turn, so um, but really, I mean, it's the same. It's the same situation. It's still both of them are still after cleanup. So it's basically turns gives every tireless card that kind of effect, where it's like really good if you want to see that card early in the turn. Pretty bad if you want to see those cards late in the turn. So if it's bad if there's like five cards that like stop cards and they're all tireless, and you don't rely on those for like your payload. Please don't do that. We have the events now. Some of these we've been previewed. We're getting to the end, guys. It's a long video, but bury is +1 buy. Put any card from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck. From your discard pile, like it's for one. Oftentimes you have spare money, and if it's like the beginning of the game and you have like 6 and you want a 5, just bury the card you got last. Like there's so much stuff you can do that's helpful with this. Like if you have multiple buys, you can just buy the card that you're gonna buy that turn, and then use your spare buy on to bury it, and whatever other cards you got last, like whatever other cards you might want. It's such a versatile card. I don't know about versatile, but it's such a convenient card to have. It's really you should be looking to take advantage of this a lot. You don't have to necessarily like plan it out so hard. Just like it'll be obvious. It's like okay, now I can bury. Avoid I haven't seen. 2-cost event +1 buy. Next time you shuffle this turn, pick up 3 cards to put into your discard pile. Oh, okay. So if you know you're gonna shuffle, so like if your draw pile is empty at the end of your buy phase, typically, you can put 3 cards into your discard pile. So it's like typically it's gonna be the junk pile, either the junk cards, or it's gonna be the cards that you want to draw at the end. And this stacks. So this stacks. So I do have water next to me, but it's running out. So if you buy this 3 times every turn, you're gonna have 9 cards in your discard pile every turn, and you won't dud. Probably will not dud if you do that. So it's like if you have enough underlings in Order of Masons. This is like, well, You don't get order. You don't get it for free. You have to pay this much money each turn to get that effect. But the thing is, you get paid. You can pay for that effect with the cards that you have in your that you're discarding. So let's say um you're using a loot, like you have, let's say, a loot card that you don't want to draw at the start of your turn. You use the loot card to buy the avoid, and then you can put the loot card in your discard with two other cards, and each loot that you have could pay this off, and for the advantage of putting two cards in your discard pile at the start of your as you shuffle. So by the start of your next turn, you'll already have like a much cleaner shuffle. So yeah, and even just gold, man. Like every gold that you get, every gold that you have in your deck, becomes, well, bottom deck it and two other cards. So as long as you have to draw your entire deck, um, you could get more payload really safely. Like just until you have anything that you're not like, until you have stuff that you have anyway. Like it's like um until you don't have use for it, like until it's like not you're not discarding more than like one card. Until you're not discarding more than one card into your discard pile, like you don't need to get more treasure just for that then. But like until then, like there's gonna be cards that you don't want. And even if it is cards like that, then like when you start getting provinces, there are going to be cards that you want in your discard pile. So you get that. So it's good to maybe overbuild. You should overbuild. You can like, over not overbuild, the opposite of like over um get greedy a bit with your payload. As long as you're drawing, you know that you can draw your deck. You can get really greedy with your payload, and it'll pay off. So really, I think it's really powerful. Uh, Next one is deliver. Plus buy this turn each time you gain a card, set it aside, and put it into your hand at the end of the turn. There's a card. Well, there's this card rush that. Oh no, what was that? Do we see it? Maybe I meant to prepare. But yeah, that's it's like top decking but better. So like if you think of it like what's called traveling fair, that was plus two buys and top deck your cards that you gain. This is one buy, so it's not getting more buy, but you are, instead of top decking it, it's like put it into your hand. So you're like increasing your hand size, and so it's like you're cargo shipping everything that you gain in the turn. It's like it's all your cards, so it's even the provinces. So it's like, and it's just two and one buy. It gives you your buy back. Like seriously, like for something this strong, I would have thought maybe don't give the buy. Like it doesn't need the buy, but maybe for something like that, kind of does. I don't know. Good card though. This parallel is 2 cost. You may trash an action card from your hand to gain a loot. Surprisingly, there's going to be this was previewed, and there's going to be some situations where like there's a lot of stuff that's like okay for 3, okay for 2, but like is it really going to be better than a loot? Like you just buy it, and then like suddenly you have a lot more. There's just something you might just not want a card anymore. Just feel like one extra um taskmaster, or let's say you have like 2 of these secluded shrines. You play one, you buy peril, trash the other, trigger the secluded shrine, get so to trash 2 cards, and you get your loot. We talked about the loot above. A lot of them are pretty good. Some of them are not as good as others, but still pretty good. Um, it's just a nice, just towards later on. Just like if you have a lot of extra spare components that you need, and they just want some money, you can just like quickly trash 2 of them. 2 things you don't need, let's say. Uh, but the Fortune Hunter, yeah, that's a good candidate for like just axe it, get some loot. This dude, what was the draw card? Yeah, so I found this one was fun. Rush. This was also previewed. It's plus buy. The next time you get an action card this turn, play it. Cost 2. There's a lot of cards. Like the thing is with Rush is that it's after you started buying cards, so you can't. If you play a card that draws cards, you won't be able to play those treasures. So it's but it does give you buyback. So if you're buying something that um gives +2, you get your discount. Like you get like you get your discount for your rush already, and then it does whatever bonus it's going to do. So it's like kind of you get to for free get to play the card the turn you gain it if it gives +2 or more. And maybe that card, well, it's not Montebank, but we don't have that anymore. But like something like Fortune Hunter. You mean this one does play the treasure. Um, Something like Taskmaster. Taskmaster again, it's like really good if you could like gain and play. So like Rush is one way that you could just gain and play it, but you'd have to buy the 5 cost card after you play this, after you rush it. You just need to do it one. The next one, Foray, it's a 3 cost. Um, Discard 3 cards, revealing them. If they have 3 different names, game will loot. Oh, I like that. That's good. Like I mean, Peril was trashing. This is like um but to afford 3, if you have like 3 coppers, you're not gonna and like you have 2 other cards, you're not gonna be able to trigger this. You need like copper, silver, and then like estate, copper, your terminal. Not your opening buy to get like this early. But later on in the game, when you have more control, either you discard some excessive cards or you hold back some treasure so that you pay um, so that like you hold so that you don't get as much money as you could have, and then you're paying an extra 3 to discard them, but you get the loot, and you get several loots like this in a turn if you have plus buy. So I like it. A launch once per turn, return to your action phase. +1 card, +1 action, and plus buy. That's pretty nuts. I mean, we've seen what Vila can do. You play your Smithy, and it's like, oh no, I can't. I have no action. Then you buy it. You buy Vila. You go back to your action phase and go off. This is once per turn, but often you're only doing that. You're only doing that trick. You only need to do that trick once per turn. A lot of the time, just so that you get your big starting hand size. Uh, and then this gives you the card back and the buy. Yeah, obviously because like you have to spend the buy to get the launch. But damn, that is good. That's and then you don't have the stop card you don't have the stop card anymore at in your deck. Although the thing with Vila and Cavalry is that those cards did things when you played them. Like sometimes you want to play the Cavalry. Like you play a couple Cavalries, you trash another Cavalry for something. Like they did stuff, and the Vila was your does give action. So like in the future, you're not going to need to Vila as much because it'll be also your village. But this is not a village. This is never a village. So um, it's still it's still convenient if you have. Well, if you have plus buy, you can buy other stuff, and then you buy this. So it helps you do gain and play stuff too, because you could buy a bunch of stuff and then launch, and then you play one of the cards that you gained. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. More than pretty good. I think it's pretty hot. Um, Artwork. What am I talking about? The artwork. I think it's okay. I don't know. I don't see the artist names on these, but next one is mirror. Okay, so it's like, I guess it's the verb to mirror. +1 buy the next time you gain an action card this turn, you get a copy of it. Also, it's like stonemason for 1 more. Oh, that's so good. Oh my god, I love that. It's gonna be amazing. Next one, prepare. This one was previewed. Set aside your hand face up at the start of your next turn. Play those actions and treasure cards in any order, then discard the rest. So, this is actually pretty good. It's like it doesn't do anything early because it's like what you're gonna play your estates and then they're just gonna get discarded. They don't. Um, you discard them, so it's like not like you set them aside. After if you shuffle, if you don't shuffle, it's not like you're going to um, if you don't shuffle in between those 2 turns, it's not like you're going to get rid of like and if or if you shuffle later that the next turn, it's not like you're gonna get rid of the estate because it gets discarded right away. But it does have a lot of like. First of all, it lets you play your excessive cards that you didn't need to play. You get to play them, but also, um, it's just if you had to do something like play a hermit and then prepare, like do some other stuff for your treasure. So you just feel like you don't have quite enough to buy um what you wanted. You could prepare like look at deliver those cards that put those put cards you gain into your hand. This will put cards you gain into your put cards you had in your hand back into your hand. Like it turns your entire hand with like the like havens your entire hand and then plays them because like plus one action for each of those actions that you played. um, you'll see that I guess you could there will be times where you can like form a whole strategy around this. I can't. I don't want to think about. I don't want to talk about them right now. It's getting harder and harder to talk. And yeah, there's some tricks and there's like some nice art. I don't know much more to say, but like it's pretty nifty. Scrounge is the next event. It costs 3. It says choose one, trash a card from your hand, or gain an estate from the trash. And if you did, gain a card costing up to 5. Oh. Well, often I'm gain like you trash an estate with like a remake, or not like with a remodel to gain something, and then if you can get that estate back to get a 5, like something maybe one of those like 5 cost remodel variants, like what do we have? Enlarge in this set, uh, enlarge, and then or you get like some or like modify from the allies set, and you get some stuff or like an apprentice that can do something with the estate. That's really good. Or you could just use this to trash like it's like a half bonfire. You trash a card, not a bonfire, but you trash a card in your hand for 3. I forgot what card is just like you buy it and you just trash cards from your hand. I feel like there's something like that, but maybe not. So this will do that for 3 for per buy per 3. You get to trash a card in your hand. Maybe you'll do that sometimes. If you scrounge and buy, if you turn 1 scrounge your estate and buy silver, you're guaranteed to hit 5 on the next shuffle. So already that's like, oh, already that's like a big deal. Like that's one of those guarantees that you hit 5 on the second shuffle with a 10 card deck. So like you won't bottom deck your silver. So you'll by turn 5 you'll have a chance of playing that 5 cost card. So yeah, cool, good stuff. Banish was similar. I mean, the difference between this and Banish as well. Banish you get to keep the estate technically, and then later in the game, Banish could like get rid of like, a whole bunch of coppers all at once. This doesn't do that, but it gains you can gain stuff. But the problem here is that let me walk that back a little bit because if you trash an estate on your starting hand, your opponent will scrounge and get the 5 cost card and get that estate. So you don't want to open this because then your opponent gets a 5 at the and gets an extra estate, but like they get a 5 um, earlier than you get to. So I guess that's the problem with this card. So maybe you don't want to trash estates unless you're gonna take advantage of it the same turn. But you could trash copper. So like here's the thing: if you go with 4 cost hand, you trash copper and then you buy silver, you might still not hit 5 in the next shuffle. Doesn't work, but it is still trashing. It'll help you with deal with curses. It'll trash your it'll trash anything with an on trash benefit. You can use that. And I think just the idea is you want to trash an estate on your turn, get it back with scrounge. Um, so it takes more finesse because now you're playing 2 players instead of 1 player. So you do have to play around it. Um, so it makes it more risky to trash your estates. So it's pretty. It does have a warping effect. So it's pretty. I think that the fact that it warps the game that forces you to consider not willy-nilly trashing your estates makes it potentially even more powerful. Important. Journey. This is once per turn. If the previous turn wasn't yours, you don't discard cards from play in clean up this turn and take an extra turn after this one. So I don't want to go through all the rules weirdness with this, but it's like it's most of it's just if you read the cards, it'll understand. Like there's no more wild and play stuff in second edition. Everything's just like next turn or every turn. But this is good. This is something you would use often early on because it's like maybe at the end of the game you're playing all of your cards every turn, and you don't need the journey. But up to get to that point, you probably want to use the journey because there's a lot of cards like those coppers that are staying in play. You weren't going to draw them anyway on your next turn. So like, why don't you just take an extra turn and do something cool? And if you can draw half of your deck, or if you're willing, if you only have like the terminal space to draw half of your deck, to play half of your cards, or there's a few more cards that you need to, like if there's a few more cards that you need to play, um, so it kind of gives you like a +1 action. If there's like an extra terminal you want to play, you can like spend 4, take an extra turn, so whatever's in play stays in play, and then you get that other card that you couldn't play last turn. Now you play it, so it kind of like gives like an action, in even like some of the worst cases for it. But like up until that point, you're just gonna be using this pretty often based on your deck tracking to just to accelerate, just like do whatever you're gonna do but faster. Uh, really important card to a really important event. The next one is Maelstrom. This was also previewed. So Journey and Maelstrom are previewed. That's why I'm talking more about them. Prepare was previewed too, but for some reason I'm just drawing blanks there about what to talk about. Maelstrom is trash 3 cards from your hand for 4. Each other player with 5 or more cards in hand trashes one of them. I'm not going to consider the attack implications of this if you make your opponent draw cards, but like, um, this is just good with this is good with the smithies and stuff where like you get a big hand size and or like there's some kind of scenario where for you conveniently you can like trash all your estates at once or trash like an estate of 2 coppers and it's like and your opponent's getting 1 trash but you're getting more than them. So as long as you're trashing more cards than your opponent is, you're coming up pretty far ahead. And if you, for some reason you think that your opponent has like no junk cards in hand, you could buy this, but like you're forced to trash 3 cards. You can't trash like less than 3. So I don't know how you're gonna pull that off consistently, but maybe once, maybe if the the shuffles align just right, you might hit something, but maybe your opponent will still have that 1 spare copper. It's gonna be hard to attack with this, but like don't think of it as an attack. Think of it as just like uh double the scrounge thing. Man, I'm still man. Mirror's gonna be so good. Like okay, so like with 7 you can't get 2 5s, but you get like 2 4s, or if you have the 8 money you get like 2 5s. So it's like, and you don't have to deal with the stonemason. Even though stonemason's really good for like pile control. So maybe it won't be as fun as stonemason, but it's like still like the fact that it's even reminiscent of it. Yeah, Maelstrom. I like Maelstrom. Looting is one I haven't seen. Oh, gain a loot. Yeah. For 6. So like, I mean, why would you get gold? So in this case, like, if you ever wanted to pay 6 for gold, you better be like, you wouldn't pay 6 for gold. You'd have to reduce the cost or something to make it like, or have some to make you want gold over the any of the loot. I mean, maybe you wouldn't want the figurehead because you can't play it every turn, but you don't expect to get the figurehead when you pay 6 for the loot. But what I was thinking is that at 6, it just feels like the whole point of loot is to kind of get it like for cheap, like with the foray or the peril. So I don't like the looting as much as the other 2 loot gaining events. But I mean, it's something. It's just gonna be cool. That's artwork is it feels familiar. It feels like the artist might be familiar. But anyway, Invasion. This one I don't know either. Neither of these were previewed. Invasion is you may play an attack card. You may play an attack from your hand. Gain a duchy. Gain an action card. Gain an action onto your deck. Yeah, action card. Gain a loot. Play it and play it. Play the loot. So it basically does a bunch of stuff. So what's it thematically? So invasion, it's all the stuff that's aggressive. So you're playing an attack because you're attacking. You're gaining a duchy because you're taking territory. You're gaining an action onto your deck as you're preparing armies. You're gaining a loot because you took over something. For 10, that's a pretty. I like that for 10. Like the loot that you play is probably going to be worth a gold, so it's actually going to cost like 10, and then you once you've bought the first one, so you get some rebate of you get like a cash back of like 3, so it costs like 7. The attack you might, I mean, you might have an extra attack. Sometimes you get extra, like if you get extra militias, but that would further rebate. Maybe the attack doesn't stack, but it does further does further refund the cost of this. And then you get an action onto your deck, any action. It could be a overlord, it could be a city quarter, it could be any action. Possession, I have possession banned, but like it could be possession, just for 10. And you gain a loot. Yeah. And then prosper was the last one. This one was previewed. It's gain a loot and then plus any number of differently named treasures. So for 10, if you gain a loot and you gain a gold for 10, that's not amazing. I mean, if you think of or a gold and a silver and maybe a copper, like maybe you do that if you have like palace, if or something that cares about a lot. But compared to looting, where like looting was 6 for a loot is respectable, and then 10 for that plus a gold is not. That's like a lot of extra for the extra stuff. But there's all this kingdom treasures that we've been looking at. And so if there's a game has like even like with a second edition to like prosperity and seaside, we've got more treasures. So if there's like okay, I can get a loot and then I can also get a pickaxe and a figurehead and a gold, um, and then also like the loot. Uh, then it looks good. So there's gonna be like maybe a point in the game where you hit 10. Like, well, that 10 is pretty good, but I want to hit 16. So then you buy a loot, you buy prosper, and you get all this other stuff. And yeah, so there's gonna be some times where that's fun. And boy, that's everything. That's everything, and right on time because I should have brought 2 water bottles with me and not just one. But thank you for all the patience. You've all been great. Have fun with playing Plunder. Thank you.